But in my backpack, I have a ball cap. It's a new ball cap. In fact, it's the 2016 Cleveland Cavaliers NBA championship ball cap. And no, you cannot have it, amen. But I had the kind of parents that when I would do things that sort of irritated them, my mother would take a baseball cap and throw it on the table and say, you need to put on your thinking cap. And that's what I want to focus on today. In the backpack is the importance of having a thinking cap. Philippians 4:8 says, finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things. So if I were to sum it up, I believe the writer is telling us whatever is going to help us be our best self, that's what we need to think about. Why is it important? Because whether we realize it or not, our actions begin as thoughts. In fact, repeat that with me. Our actions begin as thoughts. So what do I want us to think about? One, I want us to all, be we going to school Wednesday or be we going to the school of life tomorrow, I want us to think before we speak. Think before we speak. I believe there's something to be said about the power of words. In more recent years, there were movies like Aquila and the Bee and the Great Debaters that reminded us about the power and the importance of words. Those of us who are from the old school and even the new school, how many ever played Scrabble where you had to find words and sometimes people would make up words and you had to get the dictionary and look up the word to see if they had cheated to make up a word. When you see the spelling bee, we need to encourage our young people to watch the Scripps spelling bee. It's about the power of words, what we speak. And even there's a new TV show, young people, I don't know if you've seen it, it's called The Rap Game, age 12 to 17 young people who actually want to be rappers. But what I found, it's amazing that they have learned about the importance that rapping is about words. And so even no matter how young or old we are, we need to understand that there is power in our words. And if we can talk to ourselves in a healthy way every day, I believe it'll help us to talk to everybody else healthy. Because some of us can't talk right to other folk because we don't talk right to ourselves. So let's join in this group experience. I want you to look at who's ever sitting close to you and repeat after me. My name is, and fill in the blank. And tell them, I am God's masterpiece. We're going to do it one more time. My name is, and I am God's masterpiece. Repeat this after me. Today is going to be the best day of my life. Now, see, y'all said that kind of weak. Let's say it like we mean it. Today is going to be the best day of my life. Repeat this with me. Because of God, I can do everything with an excellent spirit. If we're telling ourselves these things every day, it will affect our days for the good. Second, not only think before we speak, but think before we act. When I was graduating from high school, I think I was at TSU, Sister Act 2 came out, and one of the things that stuck out to me in Sister Act 2 was they had this mantra. They said, if you want to be somebody, if you want to go somewhere, you better wake up and pay attention. And a part of that paying attention means we need to think before we act. Ask ourselves, what are the positives and the negatives of my actions? But before we do something, what are the positives and the negatives of our actions? But then ask yourself, how will my actions affect me short-term and long-term? I told them this morning I had the opportunity to spend time with about 15 young African-American males, and they wanted to talk to someone about the Vandy trial that just went on. And one of the many lessons that came out from that discussion was that don't let a short-term bad decision, y'all better hear me now, have long-term negative consequences. And that's for the youngest to the oldest. Because then the other thing we have to ask ourselves, how will my actions affect those I care about? Get this, I want us all to purge this from our mouth and our mind. I'm doing me. Throw that in the trash. Because what you do just don't affect you. Am I talking right? Young people, hear me now. What you do just doesn't affect you. It affects everybody and everything connected to you. And when you love some folks, you ought to check your actions. In fact, tell somebody, check your actions. And the third thing I want you to think about, then I'm through. Think about what it cost. Young people, I'm being very honest with you. Your ability to go to school this week came with a price. Now, it ought to be a few more amens in that. For those who may be going to college, your ability to go to college came with a price. So we're not just going for some happy joke. We're excited that you're going, but it cost somebody something. Those who are athletic scholars, because I believe in athletics, but I think you ought to be an athletic scholar. If you're going to excel at basketball, also excel at biology. Because you can do both well. And if you need some help, there are a whole lot of folks who help. Because I was thinking about even Venus and Serena. They won the Wimbledon doubles this year, and Serena won the championship. But let me just say something to you. Before there was a Venus and a Serena, I need for you to remember Althea Gibson. I need for you to remember that first African American to win Wimbledon, who was called the N-word while she was hitting the ball back. She wasn't able to stay in the same accommodations with everybody else, but had she not swung in spite of, you would know nothing about a Venus and a Serena. When you walk up the doors to Robert Little, when you go in Whites Creek, Maplewood, Pearl Cone, when you go into whatever middle school you're going to, I want you to remember that there were little boys and little girls in middle school. Y'all not hearing what I'm saying? Who stood and marched, who stood in front of water hoses so you could go to Opry Mills Mall. One of my timeless takeaways this week was to hear the First Lady of the United States of America, who would say that every morning when she sees her daughters on the lawn of the White House, she remembers that that was a house built by slaves. And many of us need to remember that we are the products of slaves who had a resilient spirit, that no matter how hard it got, no matter how much they were beaten, they endured. They believed that something good was going to happen. They believed in a God who was going to make it possible for all of us to go to Fisk, Meharry, TSU, Belmont, Vanderbilt, MTSU, Aquinas. They saw something in the midst of the hard time. It cost, somebody say it cost something. It cost something.